Let's have a look at SF Symbol effects and animations as part of iOS 17. There is now a new symbols framework, which is of course still in beta, which is why you will need to use the Xcode 15 beta to follow along with this quick tutorial. The interesting thing though is that this is a new framework and you can have a look at the documentation. I will link it in the description down below the video, but in fact you don't need to import a symbols framework here. You can use all of the stuff directly in SwiftUI and in UIkit as well actually. While I haven't played around with UIkit, I have played around with SwiftUI. So let's imagine I have an image here of house.circle. And now when I press that toggle, I want an animation to play for that image. So what I can do now is add the symbolEffect view modifier, pass in a kind of effect that I want, which is the list from the documentation, and then define for which value change this effect should happen. So in our case, we have a state variable called Animate here, which I'm toggling in the button, and this is the value that I want to change in order for the effect to play, which is why I'm passing it here. And then as the effect, we can choose whatever we want from this list here, and I will just use pulse for this example. So the arrow should go away now, and if I press toggle, then you will see that the SF symbol does in fact pulse. Now in this case, the circle doesn't, only the house in the middle. But there are also way more complex things we can do. So for example, we can animate the change from one SF symbol to another SF symbol. And that is also very easy and very similar to animations in general in SwiftUI. So we will use the ternary operator here to define the SF symbol. So if animate is true, then I want to use checkmark.circle, and otherwise I will use house.circle. So in the beginning it will be a house, and when I toggle it will be a check mark, but we can actually make that a bit prettier as well. So let's also add a foreground style, and if we show the check mark, I want it to be green, and otherwise I just want the primary color. And now for the symbol effect, we can, for example, use bounce instead, and now if we press toggle, we have a really nice transition animation from one SF symbol to another. Now this isn't the only overload of the symbol effect modifier, there are a few different ones. So for example, we can also pass in some options. So let's say we want the bounce animation and we want it to happen for our animate property. But for the options, we can now chain different options like view modifiers in here. So we could, for example, say we want this bounce animation to repeat twice, and we also want it to have a speed of 2, so double the speed basically. And now if we toggle, the bounce will happen twice. Important here to note that these animations are basically when a SF symbol appears on the screen, which is why it's playing twice, but only for the green check mark, not for the house, depending on the direction, of course. So if the house is the newly shown SF symbol, the animation will play twice for the house. If the check mark is the newly shown SF symbol, the animation will play twice for the check mark. Now there's probably some way more complex stuff you can do here. This was just a very simple introduction to SF symbol effects. If you plan to use this in your app, why not write down your feature ideas in Launch Buddy, my completely free indie project management tool for macOS and iOS, which is linked down in the description and in the pinned comment.